Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another card making video tutorial. Today we're going to be creating a layering stenciled card with paper glazes using brand new products from the Pretty Pink Posh October 2023 release, plus some of my favorite paper glazes for a layered look on this background. I've started by die cutting the large eyelet rectangle from the Eyelet rectangle dies from Craft or Desert Storm Neenah cardstock. I am masking off the eyelet edge with Post-it tape, and I am using my stamp wheel. You probably wouldn't have to since I am taping it down, but this does help with keeping the stencil in place while inking, or in this case, applying some paper glaze. I'm going to start with stencil A, and I am going to stencil this with some Arctic Fox Picket Fence paper glaze. I really love the paper glazes from Picket Fence Studio, and I'm just going to put a whole bunch on here with my palette knife. And then I'm going to use a scraper to do a nice thin layer. My goal with this is full coverage, and I want this to completely dry before I do the layering part of this technique. So I want it to be pretty nice and consistent. My paste is a little thicker than it was when I originally got it, but it still spread really well. But I did need to use a little bit more force with my paper scraper. That's why I use the paper scraper. I'm going to remove my stencil. I'm going to take everything, give it a good wash, and while that first layer is drying, we are going to stamp and color the images from the Christmas Cupcakes stamp set. I am choosing 3 of the images: the reindeer, the cupcake with the holly berries, and Santa. We are going to stamp these on some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock as well and color them in with alcohol ink markers. I will be using Olo markers today. I'm going to use a alcohol ink friendly ink, which in this case is Hero Arts Intensified Black ink. I want to get a really nice impression, and then we'll color these in. I have done quite a bit of coloring of images on craft cardstock here on my channel. It's one of my favorite looks for something different than white. I love the effect. The only thing that can give you a little issue here is if you have something that is white, you're obviously coloring on craft cardstock, and for that I highly recommend a white colored pencil. I like the Polychromos colored pencil, and that is what I'll be using when I get to that today. I will be listing any of the marker colors I am using here for my card down in the description below the video here on YouTube, as well as on my coordinating blog post. Definitely check that out for more photos and information. And we're just going to start coloring these in. Now, currently I do have 2 coordinating colors of the Olo markers together. Olo markers differ from maybe some of your other alcohol ink markers because you can do combinations together or do different choices when you are connecting these. And in this case, I have done my coordinating colors together. I'm not sure that I will be leaving them that way, but I will definitely let you guys know. I'm going to color everything in with my reds, or I'm going to attempt or try to, before moving to the next color combination. You can see that even though we're coloring on this craft colored cardstock, we are getting beautiful results. I absolutely love this. Now, one of the other great things is I started with a craft background, and for me, I have been loving the look then when you take a craft colored background and you add some images that have been colored on craft cardstock and die cut, and they obviously have that little outline around them that shows the cardstock color. I feel like it just blends so much nicer. So that is another added benefit. I think we'll do some of these sprinkles in red, but not all of them. we will just kind of play around with this and see what we like. Okay, next up, let's do the leaves on the holly berries. I'm going to use a yellow-green color combination for this, but when I get to the frosting, I will go back, or pardon me, not go back, I will go to a brighter green color combination for added interest. And I will be using two different green color combinations, and those will both be noted down in the description below. I started with greens. I used yellow greens for the leaves, and I don't think it gets quite as dark as I would like it to look, so I will be darkening this up. But I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going in with my lighter color, and this obviously has much more of the zero, or what you might refer to as a blender. Not an actual blender, but what it's called a blender in Copic markers, but it's called Zero in Olos. So it has a lot more of that in that color. And to me, that's just, I want it to be minty kind of in a way, but I don't want it to be quite that light. So I'm going to go back now with a darker color, and I'm just kind of tracing the frosting of the cupcake a little bit. And then I'm going to go back with my mid-tone color to blend out that harsh line just a bit. And I like that so much more. That just says Christmas to me. This cupcake set is absolutely adorable. I love cupcakes, whether we're building them with dies or coloring them with markers. I'm going to use a pink, a red violet here for the rest of the sprinkles on that cupcake. For the face of Santa, we're going to use some orange, red, or neutral tone colors, what I kind of call my tans. And I'm going to color in his face and nose on the cupcake wrapper. And I'm going to do a little bit of some pink cheeks and a little bit on his nose so that it has a little bit of a pink tint to it. And then we will take our white colored pencil, one of my favorite looks on craft cardstock, and we're going to color everything in that is supposed to be white. So the brim of the hat, the pom-pom, and his beard and mustache. Now I love that his hat has some decoration on it, and this is a great opportunity to incorporate another color into the Santa cupcake. So in this case, I will be doing some green sprinkles because of course his hat is the frosting of the cupcake, which is so stinking cute. I did decide to do his mouth red for a little bit more added interest and color. But you can definitely now tell the difference between the craft and the white. And here is the green for the sprinkles on the top of the Santa cupcake. All that's left is our reindeer cupcake, our Rudolph reindeer cupcake. We are going to use some browns for this. So I'm imagining he's a chocolate cupcake with a nice light milky chocolate frosting or something of the sort. We are going to use some more neutrals here to color him in. I love that he has little ears and antlers. The decorations are so cute. I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see some real cupcakes decorated like this. I think that would be adorable. So now we are just adding our darker color, get our chocolate frosting. And the wrapper for this one will be green. I did try to kind of balance the colors on my card as much as I could, and I felt like green would be a good addition here. Obviously, I don't want to do red. I've already put some red on my candy canes, and that is going to would make them blend into the wrapper, not stand out. So I want them to be, or I want the wrapper to be green. We're going to go back to the yellow greens for that. And then of course the craft sections left on the candy canes, we will take the white colored pencil and add in the white for that so that it stands out just a little bit more. I'm going to trace out my wrapper with my dark color and blend with the lighter color. Just trying to be very careful to avoid our candy canes. Absolutely adorable. I love, love, love these cupcakes, and I think they turned out super cute. Now, meanwhile, while I've been coloring, that base layer of our layering candy cane stencil has been drying, which is going to be perfect for adding our second layer. So as soon as I have these completely colored in, I add some little white highlights here and there to the cupcake wrappers. I'm going to die cut these, and we will be adding our second layer so that that second layer of paste can also be drying while we get the rest of the components that we need for our card. White highlights in this case are going to just make our cupcake come to life. In addition to the white highlights, I will be taking that black jelly roll pen and adding detail to Rudolph's eyes, but I like to wait until I've die cut the image so that it doesn't smash out the black jelly roll pen. And if you have a black jelly roll pen and you have tried it, you will see that there is a bit of a difference. As long as you let it dry, it doesn't matter that much, but I just prefer to wait and add that black jelly roll pen after I have die cut my images. So now I'm going to grab stencil number 2 and line it up. Now I do think here is a tip, and I wish I would have done this, so if you're trying it at home, if your first stencil, make sure it's dry, place it back in place to kind of help hold some of the red paste in place. I am applying the red paste now on top of the white. It did kind of seep under my stencil in a couple of places. Not bad enough to ruin the background. My philosophy is keep on going, we can fix it. And I was able to disguise the worst spot with my sentiment. We are adding things on top. It doesn't have to be perfect. I am okay with an imperfect background. But there is one little area that I did end up kind of hiding down there at the bottom. Now, once I have cleaned up my stencils, I am going to go ahead and remove my Post-it tape. We're going to discard that. And what I love, this background is awesome just like this. It's super textured. I love a good textured background. I've really been loving playing with pastes and the Pretty Pink Posh stencils, or any stencils, for different, very textured results. I'm going to take a piercing tool, pop out any of the little eyelet that didn't pop out when I first die cut it. You know, those tend to like to stick in place, so we're just going to go around and pop all of those out. And then I am going to splatter this with a little white gouache for a snowy effect. We'll go ahead and add our black jelly roll pen so that can be drying too. When I'm creating, I do try to think about what can be drying while I work on other things. Oh, I love my cupcakes. I think they are so cute. Absolutely so much fun. Okay, so I've got my splatter box. I've got my white gouache. I will add a little water to my white gouache. I like to water it down. It just splatters easier. Otherwise, it tends to be a little thick. And then we're just going to splatter this all over for a very fun snowy effect. So we end up with these kind of a snowy background with these wonderful textured candy canes. If you want to do something even more simple, maybe you don't want to color a nice sentiment, there's wonderful sentiments in the Pretty Pink Posh October release that you could add to this, either die cut or glimmered. And that would be beautiful. Add a little candy cane, maybe embellishment, and it would be a little bit more sophisticated instead of cutesy design. So hopefully you can kind of take away some sort of idea from this video, even if you are not a colorist. So now that I have my background, it is time to get our sentiments for our card. Using the new Mary script die, I've die cut this 3 times from the Simon Says stamp Schoolhouse red cardstock. I'm gluing them one on top of another to give it a little bit more substantial look and feel. We will be gluing this right to the card base and then adding a sentiment strip. This is something I tend to do in a lot of my cards, is I love a nice bold scripty sentiment with a smaller sentiment strip added next to that. Oh, is there anything better than red and white on craft? It is like one of my favorite looks for the holidays and beyond. Craft all the things. I did use an acrylic block to kind of help smash all of those layers together once I had them glued together. I will pop up all of my cupcakes with a little bit of foam. Foam is going to help lift them up off of the background and give some nice dimension to these and help it not seem quite so flat. Foam adhesive is one of the best things you can have in your craft arsenal. It works for so many different things. I'm going to just pop some little squares here. Look at that background. Is that not just amazing? I love, love, love these textured candy canes. I cannot wait to make some more things with it because I think it's amazing. Now, I did choose to put Rudolph in the center with a little crystal lacquer on his nose, so he ends up having a nice shiny nose. But I put him in the center because he has those antlers, and so he tends to stick out a little more. For balance, I felt like it gave me so much more balance to have him in the center and then Santa on one side and the holly cupcake on the other side. I always kind of try to be aware of that when adding images to a card so that it doesn't seem skewed one way or another. Try to get that lined up where I want it to go. My red paste at this point, just to be completely transparent, was not all the way dry because I was on a bit of a time crunch. So I went ahead and adhered to everything, but I was trying to be super careful. And then, of course, we are going to tuck our Mary kind of right here underneath the edge of our cupcakes. They do stick up a little higher than what our layered Mary's going to be, so I want to tuck it underneath. Let's try to get it as straight as possible. And already that's helped disguising that little smushed out white area down along the bottom. I'm going to disguise this even more when we add our sentiment strip to finish off this card design. Now, while I go stamp my sentiment, I want some of my glazes to be drying. I'm adding crystal lacquer sparkle glaze to the pom-pom and brim of Santa's hat, like it's sugared icing. We're also doing that to the holly berries and to the sprinkles on Santa's hat. I'm going to go back to regular crystal lacquer for the candy canes on my Rudolph cupcake wrapper, so that they're nice and shiny. I also think it would have looked nice on the word Mary. I chose not to do it here, but I think that would be a fun look as well. I actually just sent out a card recently where I had done that. It was a card I made, like 4 or 5 years ago, you guys. Some of the cards I've had for a while, but I had put glossy accents on a die cut scripty greeting, and it reminded me how much I love that look. I am adding some of the clay confetti from the release all around my background. I especially love the pops of green stars and white snowflakes intermixed with these textured candy canes. Just using a little bit of glue and my embellishment wand to pop those in place. Finally, I want to take a sentiment strip Christmas greeting and stamp that on some black cardstock that I've prepped with a powder tool to help keep the embossing powder only on the stamped sentiment. I have stamped joyful holiday wishes. I always love these basics. I'm going to emboss that with white embossing powder, die cut it with one of the Pretty Pink Posh label dies, and we will be popping that up underneath our Merry script word with a little foam. The final thing we're going to do is take this rectangle and we will place it on a white side fold card base. If you want a more tone-on-tone effect, I think a craft card base or even a green or red would be super pretty here if you want a little bit more contrast. If you want to go more tone-on-tone, another Desert Storm or a Desert Storm card base would be fun. It would just give you more of a textured eyelet trim. I'm going to apply the glue only on the area that doesn't have the eyelet trim. Pop this down in place, and our card is all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these layering stencils with pastes holiday card featuring Pretty Pink Posh October 2023 release products. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new paper crafting video or I go live. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.